Welcome to Patreon episode 12 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am covering true paranormal stories from the web. As always, thank you all to those who support the show through this platform and any support that you give the show at all, however that looks. So with that, we can get right to the stories here, the accounts of experiences. I say stories because that's what people sort of are used to hearing, but really they are accounts of experiences that people have. And so I say both just so that people know that I'm not trying to say that any of this is made up. So anyway, let's see here. Get back to the document. And let's see here. Okay, this one, lost my spot. There we go. This one says, excuse me. This one says, I was sitting alone in my barber shop during a dinner break with the outside door locked. I was the only person in the small building at the time. While reading paranormal stories online, I suddenly heard a loud bang right next to me. The noise came from my metal cash box, as if it had been abruptly opened and closed. There was no apparent explanation for the sudden, loud noise from the cash box. I'm wondering if ghosts were reading paranormal stories online with me and making their presence known through the unexplained bang. I am only half joking. The experience struck me as very strange, given the circumstances of being alone in the locked shop. And that's where that one ends. And that is an important thing, I think, to address once in a while, which is that, yes, sometimes things do happen while people are reading or watching paranormal content. And it could be that there was someone there that realized that this person was sort of reading about an existence that they may have been a universe or a level of reality that they may have been inhabiting at the time, as in whoever else was there with this person, and decided to affect an object to make a sound to show that, hey, I'm here. I don't think, though, that I mean, I can say this, from experience, reading or watching anything paranormal, you're not going to have something happen every time. I can almost guarantee that. I won't say for sure, but here's the thing. I'm listening to shows and podcasts and listening to audiobooks and on these topics almost all day, almost every day of the week and weekend. And then, of course, doing these shows. And so if it was going to automatically happen, then I'd be having experiences all day, every day, just about. And that doesn't happen that way. So, so I'm not saying that the writer there is wrong or that they're right. I'm just saying that's sort of something to keep in mind. I wouldn't worry too much. I do think that in some cases, especially when it comes to the more negative stuff, it can attract more negative type entities. If that's all you're looking into and thinking about, then maybe that can sort of lead to, even if it's sort of your own energy acting in weird ways around you or interacting with other objects or entities or energies in weird ways around you. I think that can sometimes happen. But even then, I don't think it's going to ever be all the time. Because, I mean, there are people that listen to or that watch horror movies all the time. And some are paranormal and everything. And you do get random reports here and there online about people that have experiences while watching the latest horror movie. But if you take the number of people that have watched that horror movie over time versus that one or two reports of that experience, while it's terrifying for that person that has the experience, that's not happening to everyone I'm pretty sure, that watches that movie. So just something I'd like to bring up from time to time because I think it's important to do that. And but yeah, who knows? I'd be curious to know the history of the building, if anything else ever happened there in terms of paranormal events before it was that barber shop or after. Um, if it was just a one-time thing, then maybe the writer there has it right, and they sort of someone else was there and wanted to let them know what was that they were aware. And but it's hard to say. It's always so hard to say with all these figuring out what is going on exactly is just. I don't think it's impossible for all of time, but I think as of right now, it's pretty close to impossible to know for sure. So anyway, moving on to the next one here. And I want to thank everyone also for being here tonight, for either whether you've been here from the beginning or you're here now. If you're here live for these shows, that's staying up kind of late to listen here. So I appreciate that. So night owls and all that, or people that aren't that still stay up. That's even more amazing. I appreciate that. But anyway, moving on to the next one here. This one says, I was in my kitchen putting things in the sink. I was suddenly engulfed or washed over by a dark shadow, causing me to jump. The experience made me think someone else was present with me, even though I was alone. After seeing this dark shadow, I experienced an instant chill and was freaked out. I have seen a dark shadow in the same location before, but not for a long time, and has never been so close to me before. Can anyone explain what is going on here? And that's where that one ends. I wonder if it's a residual. Again, I do think shadows and all these other things can be residual, especially if it's appearing in the same place. Maybe the timing was just bad timing for the person there, that they happened to be in that spot right when it was going to happen again. Yeah, night owls. There we go. In the chat. Also, call back to a previous episode of Trouble Minds as well. But I wonder if it was just a residual. I mean, it could still cause the person to be surprised and freaked out and have that feeling of energy. But it could still be residual, especially if, again, they've seen it in the same place before and it never. Also, if it never moved anywhere, then I mean, not that residual energy can't move, but yeah, I wonder if that was the case, and especially if nothing else happened in that case and there was no other interaction. Ricky in the chat there says, yeah, I wonder about the time too, if it happens at the same time multiple times. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So hopefully that's all it was, and it wasn't anything more. I can see why like I said, the person that experienced it would be startled and maybe worried that it means more than it really does, because I can't imagine just all of a sudden being in the middle of a shadow. That's pretty odd, but hopefully that's all it was. And because again, going back to the whole idea of this show is, I don't think that the paranormal is the way it is portrayed in movies and TV shows all the time. I don't think it all is out to get us. I think a lot happens that is either trying to help us or is not even interested in us and are aware of us. And so all that stuff, all those possibilities play. And so, yeah, moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. This one says, this happened about 6 years ago. I was in bed, awake, around 9:30 or 10 p.m. I saw what appeared to be my sister enter the middle of my room. I had my light in my room off, but the hallway light was on. The figure's face was completely blacked out and not visible. The figure stood in the exact center of the room. It faced the wall to the left of me. The figure remained still for about 25 to 30 seconds and then faded into thin air over the space of 1 to 2 seconds. I wasn't frightened by this apparition. I was more curious than anything else. It felt like watching a movie to me. I lived with my mother and sisters at the time. My sister's room was a couple of doors down from mine. She had no reason to enter my room. The figure appeared to be holding a stuffed animal in one hand. This was unusual, as my sister was 12 or 13 and didn't sleep with stuffed animals anymore. I still can't explain how the figure faded away, and that's where that one ends. And talking about residual energy, that seems like that's a good possibility for that one too. That's weird that the face was blacked out, but again, if it was, I do think that residual images and energies can fade over time. I wonder if that's part of the reason for that. That sort of, that energy, for whatever reason, was missing at the time, at that point. Though I wonder, I don't know, if it didn't look like the family member like that much. I mean, obviously that's the first place the writer's mind went, for understandably, but depending on how it looked, I mean, it could have been someone from another time that was a kid there that did sleep with stuffed animals, that it was just a residual image of them standing there. I wonder, again, what that room was in the past, if that was, it's hard to know what was going on there. But yeah, it seems like it was more like a residual thing, just because of the way it was just there and then gone. Did not seem to interact or want to interact with the writer there. I think a lot of stuff out there is residual. I really do. Especially when it doesn't appear to interact. But the tricky thing is with all this is, to me, is also, you would think that other entities would be aware of that. And so sometimes I wonder, about that as well. But I do think there's plenty of just images and sounds that happen, and they happen here and there, and then they're gone, and then over time they do fade, and for various reasons. So yeah, it sounds like to me like that's what it may have been. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. This one says, I am very private about this experience and created a random account to share it. This first strange encounter happened during my freshman year, about 7 years ago. I had a real cat that was black, brown, and gray. I was under a lot of stress and not sleeping well at the time. Past midnight, I saw what I thought was my cat, and it entered my room. The room was pitch black due to all the lights being off. I followed this cat into the bathroom and shut the door. I turned on the light a moment later and found that the cat was gone. My real cat was in my grandmother's room with the door shut. I had other sightings after that. They happened when I got my driver's license at 16. I saw this shadow cat, in quotation marks, almost every time I drove anywhere. These sightings occurred exclusively while driving, and these events happened over the course of 2 years and then stopped. The most recent sighting happened when I was driving, last week while driving home from work. After driving home from work, sorry, keep on misreading things. Anyway, it says I was, lost my spot. Okay, here we go. I was going to my fiance's home in a separate car. It was around 12:30 a.m. I saw the shadow cat just outside the headlights range. It wasn't running, but would disappear and reappear further down the road. I don't know why I have been seeing this shadow cat, in quotation marks, for so long. Has anyone else had similar experiences? Can anyone explain what I have been seeing? Sorry about that. I kept on skipping lines and didn't read that one very well. But anyway, that is odd for it to be sort of appearing and vanishing like that. The way it wouldn't really move when it would appear and vanish, it would just appear and vanish and then appear again. Makes me wonder if it was more than a cat somehow, but then it's hard to say. Or if it was just really aware of what it could do. I wonder if animal spirits somehow, similar to the way that human spirits, I think some of them become aware of what they can do as a spirit and others don't so much. I wonder if the same can happen with animals. Of course, the other option is there is that it wasn't really a cat. It was just taking on that form. Maybe, again, some kind of guardian entity, some kind of messenger. I don't know, really. It's similar in a way to the story I read earlier on a different episode about this ghost dog that kept appearing to someone. The solid black dog, and it appeared to be solid, but it would walk into walls and corners of rooms and vanish. So I don't know. I wonder if sort of guides or guardians or angel entities or whatever, if they can take these different shapes and they have their own reasons for when they show up and when they're not there, but that's how they show up as animals in some cases. And then just then they're gone. I don't know, but thought that was a neat one as well, having to do with cats and just the way this one just kept on vanishing. And sometimes it would be moving, and other times it would just be stationary, but it would reappear and vanish and reappear again. And that part is kind of odd. So, but yeah, let's see here. Moving on here to the chat. Ricky says, "I believe in animal spirits. I know one saved my mom's life." Yeah, so I wonder if they are sort of, they're just watching, and then in some cases they do get involved. Like in that one there, Ricky. I don't know. So, but moving on to one more. I think we have time for at least one more story here. One more account of an experience. And this one says, "I was chatting with someone online. Our conversation turned to ghost stories. He shared a childhood experience. He saw a woman with black eyes in a torn wedding dress, gown, in his room. He covered himself with a blanket, hoping that she would disappear. He saw the same figure again when he was 31 years old. That time, the apparition told him that her name was L." And of course, I use initials in these accounts just for privacy reasons for the people that write them, as I always say. It says, "I got chills upon hearing this. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I realized it was the same figure I had seen as a child. I saw the same woman in a torn wedding gown. She was accompanied by a man in a wedding hat." I don't know what that means exactly, but maybe like a top hat or a fancy hat, I'm not sure. "They were sitting calmly on the edge of my bed. Despite the eerie sight, I felt strangely unafraid. Has anyone encountered a similar apparition? I wish I could figure out who this figure was. I'm also curious about the origin of these sightings and would like to know more about what causes them." And that's where that one ends. It's a fairly short one, but also, to me, that's amazing because you have a fairly specific description here of a figure, a black-eyed person, which usually when you hear that, they're sort of negative encounters. but it doesn't sound like it was exactly that. Maybe. I mean, obviously, I don't blame anyone, the person that the writer there was talking to, or the person. Well, the writer didn't say they were afraid. The person they were talking with did say they were afraid. But I can understand being frightened. But overall, beyond that, it didn't do anything to attack them. Didn't do anything to threaten them. And then it appeared again once when this other person was a kid, and then once when they were an adult. And then to have the writer here say they saw the same figure, that is amazing. And then also this figure had another with them. I wonder, did this man that was with the woman also have black eyes? Hard to know there, but I do think there are other entities out there that are human-like. I wonder if human spirits can appear with blacked out eyes. I wonder if there'd be a reason or a cause for that. If not, then why are these other entities appearing in that way? The only other thing that I can think of, I mean, of course, a lot of times when you hear about like entities with dark eyes or black eyes like that, or no eyes, makes me think of different alien species that apparently have black eyes. Just solid black eyes. And I'm just wondering, is that what these people were seeing somehow? Just other entities disguised as people to not look quite so alarming. But then the question is, if they could do that, why wouldn't they change the appearance of their eyes to not be so alarming? So, of course, these kinds of encounters especially bring up so many questions when it comes to that. And I mean, so are these different from, like, let's say the black-eyed children that appear, who do seem to be very negative and have hypnotic abilities? I haven't done a show on that topic yet, but I mean, if you look up black-eyed children, black-eyed kids, you can find plenty of podcasts and shows about that topic. So I don't know, but really odd account there of experiences had by two people who only met each other through the internet. So that really is amazing. And I wonder what the point was for this one entity to tell this other experiencer their name. Especially if it was just a first name, because that's what it was in the original text there, that I shortened to just an initial, but it was just the first name. So I don't know. That's, again, so many questions with these. This one especially, it does not seem to me like just regular spirits. I don't know for sure, but doesn't seem like it to me. So yeah, there's not enough time to go into another one here, but just I want to thank everyone for listening to the show and sharing it when you can, and talking about it with others, and being here for these shows when you're able. And can't believe we're almost on 4 years of doing the show now. So thank you all for being here, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.